Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be the introduction to this new series on my channel that is all about my eyeshadow no-buy. 2019 was a no-buy year for me, so I haven't bought any eyeshadows during 2019. So technically this is a 12-month update. Eyeshadow is the only category I'm going to continue a no-buy with. And that is why I am going to be filming this series. So today I will tell you why I want to continue an eyeshadow no-buy and why I don't want to buy more eyeshadows. And I will tell you what this series is all about. I really do love eyeshadows and I loved buying eyeshadows before my no-buy year, and I really think that eyeshadow palettes are a weakness for many beauty lovers. For me, eyeshadows and lipsticks were two things that I struggled with most when it comes to buying too much of product. Now with lipsticks I do have this rule for 2020 that I will allow myself to buy one lipstick or lip gloss in every 2 months. With eyeshadows I'm going to be continuing the no-buy, and with other categories I am not going to put any too strict rules for myself just because I don't feel I really need them. I don't really have that urge to buy anymore. However, I still want to do this eyeshadow no-buy because, as I said, it was one of my favorite products to buy, and it can be really tempting. When I see a beautiful palette, the first thing I think is that I want to get it, I want to create looks with it. But then, when I look at my own collection, I realize that I don't need to get eyeshadows. I have so much that it's not possible for me to use all of these eyeshadows up before they expire. Another thing is that even though I do really enjoy eyeshadow and I do like what it does to my eyes, I honestly don't know if in the future I want to wear eyeshadow every day. Because from my makeup routine, eyes are what take most time, and especially eyeshadow is one individual product that takes the most time. Very often I spend 10, even 15 or 20 minutes just to perfecting my eyeshadow, and I don't know, I'm just not into that anymore on my daily life at least. Right now I do still wear eyeshadow almost every single day. I do still want to project pan and I want to make my collection smaller, but I would say in 5 years or so I don't see myself wearing maybe eyeshadow every day, or even if I do wear it every day, I don't think I'm going to wear anything too dramatic, not closely as dramatic that I'm wearing right now. I think I will wear something really soft and neutral, and that is just how I see eyeshadow in my life in future. And because of that, I don't think I should be buying any more eyeshadows, especially since I do have a lot of beautiful eyeshadows in my collection that are great quality, that I love wearing, so I will rather use what I have than bring in new eyeshadows, especially since I really feel I do have all the colors I need. I don't have every single shade of the rainbow, but if there is a color I don't have, I most likely don't need it if I have been good without it so far. I'm going to be continuing this eyeshadow no-buy for at least 1 more year, but most likely even after that. What I'm going to be doing in this series is that I will talk about my eyeshadow statistics, because that really motivates me. So I do have all of these different numbers on my computer and I will talk about those. So I do have things like how many eyeshadows I have total in my collection, so I would really love this to go down. Now I will say that I have during 2019 decluttered everything that I don't like, so I don't think I will be decluttering anything else unless something totally goes expired. But I think the most of the eyeshadows that are going to leave my collection I will actually use up, because I really do enjoy the rest of my eyeshadows that much. Then I do have things like pan percentage here, so that also motivates me to not buy any more eyeshadows if I can see my pan percentage grow. So yeah, that is what this series is going to be all about. It's going to be quite number heavy, and I do understand it's not for everyone, but I just want to have a place where I can talk about my collection numbers, because that really motivates me, seeing the pan percentage grow and seeing the total number of eyeshadows go down in my collection. And also I think if I have any temptations to buy eyeshadows, like if there is a new eyeshadow release, a new palette or something else, I think this series, these videos are a great place for me to talk about those things and maybe try to dupe it from my collection. So yeah, that is what this is all about. So let's actually get to my kind of like eyeshadow inventory and where I am right now with my eyeshadow collection. Sorry, I'm looking down because I'm reading all of these numbers from my computer, but right now I do have 21 loose eyeshadows in my collection, and loose eyeshadows are totally something that I will not buy again, because I just think they are way too much work and effort to get them to stick to my lid what I want for my everyday life. So I want to pan the loose eyeshadows that I have, but I don't want to buy those in the future. Then pressed single eyeshadows I do have 33, and they are in 1C palette. It is the extra large C palette and that is full. There's no room for any more eyeshadow there. I think 11 of these 33 eyeshadows in my C palette that are pressed single eyeshadows are eyeshadows from Makeup Geek, and then the rest are depotted eyeshadows from different palettes. And then eyeshadow palettes, so pre-made palettes, this does not include my C palette. I do have 14. I'm actually really excited about this number. This was way higher last year. I don't now remember exactly how many I had last year this time, but I think I had almost 30 palettes. I do have about half of that left, and I can honestly say that every single palette I do still have in my collection I do love, so I'm really happy about that. The total amount of eyeshadows in my collection is 227 eyeshadows. And right now I don't have any empty pans in eyeshadow palettes. If I finish up an eyeshadow completely, I will not include it to my total amount of eyeshadows, but then I will mention that I do have the empty pan. Okay, then let's talk about pan percentage. So the total number of pressed eyeshadows in my collection is 206, and pressed eyeshadows that I have already hit pan on are 16, and then pressed eyeshadows that I don't have hit pan on yet I have 190, and that makes my pan percentage to be 7.77. That is my current eyeshadow collection, the numbers of it, and I totally want the total number to be way smaller what it is. Of course, if I keep project panning, the pan percentage is going to grow, but what I really want in the end of the day is to have a smaller collection, and that I cannot have other than finishing up some eyeshadows from my collection or decluttering, but as I said, I don't want to declutter the palettes I have left. So we'll see how these numbers are going to develop. I think the first kind of like bigger goal for me is to get the total number of eyeshadows go under 200, but I don't think it's going to happen this next year in 2020. I think it's going to be after that, because in my Panda palette there are 14 eyeshadows, and then in my Baby Panda palette there are 6 eyeshadows, so that's 20. So even if I finished all of those, and I don't think I can finish all of those in 1 year, it still wouldn't be under 200, but that is my first like bigger goal. I wanted to talk about some eyeshadows that have really tempted me during my no-buy year. And I knew that I'm not going to be breaking my no-buy, but at some point last year, I think it was in September, I thought that I'm going to allow myself to purchase some palettes in 2020, even though I had planned previously to continue an eyeshadow no-buy. But I kind of had like a weak moment when I was kind of like waiting for the year to be over so that I could buy new eyeshadows. And there were some things that I was really interested in purchasing, so I think I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that have been tempting me during this year. Unfortunately, I have packed away all of my eyeshadows, so I cannot now try to dupe these eyeshadows from my collection, but I think almost everything from these I do still have somewhere in my collection. So let's start with the third biggest temptation of mine. So it's actually a palette from Lime Crime. So I have been really curious about the Lime Crime Venus XL2 eyeshadow palette. I think this eyeshadow palette is absolutely beautiful. It is a combination of pinky and rosy tones, some lighter greens and some browns and bronzes, and this really looks like a palette that I would get a lot use out of both the colorful and the neutral eyeshadows. Sometimes I tend to shy away from colorful eyeshadows or palettes that have a lot of color in them, but I think the soft look of this palette is something that really calls me in, and I think this would be a great springtime and summertime eyeshadow palette. I honestly think I do have pretty much all the shades from this palette that are neutral. The pinks I most likely have. What I don't necessarily have are those greens. But even if I got this palette, I think the greens would be the eyeshadows I would get the least use out of. Okay, the next palette that has been tempting me during my no-buy year is the Huda Beauty Smoky Obsessions palette. Previously, I used to not consider Huda to be a cruelty-free brand because they sold mink lashes, but they don't sell those anymore. I don't know how long it has been that they have not sold those, but I think it's a good change that the brand has made. I would be ready to support Huda Beauty because of this, and I will say that this Smoky Obsessions palette is so my looking palette. From all of Huda's palettes, this one really speaks to me. The color story is just like me in an eyeshadow palette, so yeah, neutral. There's nothing more I can say to that, but I really love how it's mainly like warmer and neutral colors, and then there's that absolutely stunning silver eyeshadow. It's so pretty looking. The entire palette speaks to me really heavily. If I will ever buy an eyeshadow palette from Huda, I think this is the one I'm going to buy. Not all of their palettes are vegan, but there is a Huda Beauty vegan product list in Ethical Elephant, so if you are curious, check that out. Then, last thing, and what really has been tempting me the most during my no-buy year, are single eyeshadows from M Cosmetics. So M Cosmetics is a Canadian indie brand that makes beautiful eyeshadows and other makeup products, and it is a small woman-owned company, and the products are handmade, and I think whenever I can I want to support businesses like that. I do really appreciate it, and these eyeshadows looks absolutely stunning. They do sell these empty palettes where you can fit 12 of their singles, and I have been so tempted to do that, and one day I'm sure I will be buying eyeshadows from this brand. However, not right now, just because I do have so much beautiful eyeshadows in my collection. I do not need to get more, even if this brand has the most beautiful eyeshadows. But I will say that if I allowed myself to buy one single eyeshadow palette, I would buy the 12 pan eyeshadow palette from M Cosmetics, and then I would fill it in with 12 of their singles because they look so beautiful. Okay, so that was everything for today and my introduction to this series. So we'll see where my eyeshadow statistics is next month. I don't think I have finished up anything by then, but hopefully the pan percentage is grown a little bit. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you have any ideas for this series, if you want to hear me talk about something I didn't mention what comes to my eyeshadow collection or new releases or anything, please let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video. Bye bye.